Hi, welcome back to the Dylan Rounds case. Welcome if you're currently here in the live premiere, appreciate it. Today we're going to be continuing on with the Dylan Rounds discussions, trying to get to grips with rumours, possible BS and what's gone down in recent time, as well as providing an update on Bette Hayward. She did respond and I can pass on a message to you. Kind of like how we've done these messages, these announcements in the past. Kind of like with Ty Corbyn, if you remember, when things needed to be addressed then, with the whole Lance Kelly situation and conflict. We can kind of do the same today because supposedly in recent time there's been, I guess, arguably fake news or misunderstandings, which can have a negative influence on people listening in, first-time impressions. So try and set the record straight today. Hopefully people are around and present throughout this video to understand about everything going on, okay? And we just go from there. So, we're looking at some points made in Bob Farrell's recent live stream, get to grips with that, share with you my thoughts and opinions there. Also, just my simple thoughts and ideas to where things are at within this case. Some people are more confused than ever. A couple don't know what to believe in. I'll just share with you how I respond and how I act at this moment in time. It might help you, okay? We can also check the comments out at the last video, catch up there. If there's any questions that need to be answered, any key information, we can read that out first and then allow people to join on in. And speaking of last night's video, make sure to check it out. The link will be down below in the pinned comment section. And as well, make sure to check my earlier video I did on the Idaho 4 case that due to the lack of DNA and evidence that possibilities down the line, Brian Kohberger could be released and what are the dangers there in the long term? Who else could be impacted? Kind of like the Brenner situation and how Candice Cooley just in rounds didn't want to make some kind of plea offer deal in case he gets released down the line and does the same thing. So a few little crossovers there. Make sure to check my videos out if you haven't watched them already. Links are down below in the pinned comment section, okay? Another thing what I want to highlight is what was interesting was last night was arguably the first time ever where quite a few people were watching but not many chatting in the live chat. And the reason why I find that interesting is it suggests that more people were simply present to listen and hear what's being talked about. And that's an example of some of the forms of most focus possible, right? Sure, when you're chatting, you do it because you want to, or you might have a question. It can lead to a lack of focus, right? It's natural, it's inevitable, unless you're very good at being a hybrid and multitask, right? Not everyone can do that. Some people do get caught up and lost in the chat. That's why a few people over time have said that they don't like the disruption there, so they're just going to focus on the video. And I guess that's what some people have been doing in recent time, but also other people as well. Maybe regulars, maybe people that come in, pop in and leave. But it was just interesting, right? That's the first time it's ever happened. Normally, you'll get like maybe a certain number of people watching and a certain number of people chatting as well. But this time it was different. So that was unique. Will we see it again? Maybe, maybe not. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. If people are able to listen to an extent and take it in and understand the importance of these videos, discussions, findings, breakdowns, analysis, debunkings, if people can understand it, then that's good enough, okay? The second factor is, can it be, can it spread outwards? Can more people hear about it? Because that's just as important, right? A couple of people have said recently that they like the Kenny Reach videos and the coverage. That's all good. So shout out to them, the recent people. But they also said that didn't come across my videos. It was a bit difficult to come across them. They weren't easily accessible. Now, most likely YouTube is to blame for that, for not putting my videos on the recommended page or on the front page. The only way to counter that, so it could be put on front page, is I guess by liking the videos and leaving comments down below. the more activity, the more YouTube favours it and then puts it on the front page. It's not so much put it on the front page so everyone comes to me, but just so everyone is informed about an important piece of information that comes out. Because the reality is, it's dark reality, but it applies to me. My reality is that I could be the one to find someone or find material which proves a groundbreaking, never seen before point. But because I'm the one to present it to people, because I'm the smaller channel, most people are not going to bat an eyelid towards me and ignore me and not bother clicking or any of that. It's a popularity complex contest on YouTube, unfortunately. So I could say something important now, not many people hear about it. 10 years later, someone else suddenly says the same thing and then everybody knows about it, and it took 10 years. That's what's silly. I don't know what other methods can be done to spread awareness, because at the end of the day, okay, I do use the appropriate titles, I do use the correct keywords, I do use the appropriate hashtags over and over again. My consistency is almost like a video every day for over a year straight, and long ones too. So I'm doing everything right. As for the topics themselves, are they hot topics? Well, I can identify that Dylan Rounds is no longer a hot topic. It's more niche now, but I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. And it will tie in with some of my thoughts later on in this video. And the reason why I'm okay with it is because I'm almost like the only one covering it. So I'm in the right place. And because of the presence of people that do watch the videos, whether it be the people that watch it regularly or the ones that do pop on in, whether it to be share like an opinion, bit of information, or even if it's like a membership, gifted membership to help other people who are present, or like a super chat, it all in a way, in some way shows that one is in the right direction and doing the right thing and covering stuff which people are focused on. Because if I don't cover it, who else does? I get that, I understand that. Kenny Veach though, M-Cave is a hot topic for sure. For sure, you know, you do the right video or you find the correct thing, you're going to get more focus, attention on that than you do with Dylan Rounds. It's unfortunate, but that's why it is. But in my reality, if I do find important stuff or pass on important findings, still, because I'm a smaller channel, YouTube won't favourite me, but favourite the popular ones who spill out the same regurgitated story. So that's probably why it's kind of hard for people to find my videos. But if you do click on the hashtags or type in a hashtag, it's almost 100% saturated with all my videos. As said, on average, most people that cover the Kenny Veach case, 1 to 2 videos. I've made 265. So that says a lot. Dylan Rounds, we're at about 328 videos made on the case or so. Will we get to the 400 mark? That sounds extreme. It does sound extreme. Maybe at most 335. 335. You got to be covering valid stuff, right? You got to get that into mind. But yeah, we just go with the flow, make sense of stuff. Just wanted to give that little introduction there so you're aware of where things are at and why at times, you know, I know some people here and there in the comments have said you deserve 1 million subscribers or 1 million views. It's good of them to think like that and to value the channel at those numbers, even if it's not at this moment in time. Do I think I should be at those numbers? Not really. I feel that maybe past videos I have made should be significantly higher in views, just simply based off the relevancy of the material, the importance of it, and the time and effort put into them. That's all I would say. But, you know, just keep on going because I've done it since 2013, so no need to really stop now, right? And as said, it's important to keep the Dylan Rounds case alive, regardless of if people drop off or not. I just cover it till it gets to a point where there's absolutely nothing left to cover. Does that make sense? Okay. So what we will do now is check back on the last video, look at the comments. If you are interested in the last video I did, as said, a link is down below in the pinned comment section. Make sure to check them out, okay? So I'll just arrange it to the newest, start from the bottom. We haven't got too many comments to get through, so that's fine. We've got Sonola, shout out to Sonola, saying that the last video was great, appreciate it, about the hole. The hole was to do with what Ty Corbin found near Don Hatley's place. If anyone wondering when it exactly happened, it happened around the time when Ty Corbin, the day after, talked about Kaylee finding that cap hat in the Lucerne area. So that was, I think, sometime in May, late May. If you go on Ty's, channel, you go on his short section or video section, the video is there. Click on about, it gives the date. And that's basically when it happened, because he did upload a video on the same day he went to the place to look about the hole. Okay, but he didn't talk about it at the time, which is interesting. Don't know why suddenly brought it up now, but yeah, there you go. And as well, anyone didn't pick up on it, okay, everyone in the chat right now, just focus for a second. Recently on Bob's channel, okay, where I think it was the last video or the video before that, Ty Corbin called Bob and basically responded back to Bob's question saying that, no, the police haven't got back to us on the cap hat found, but hey, the police never do. The police never call back or update. That was a contradiction by Ty Corbin. You know why? Because in the past, when it came to the bag of bones found by Ty Corbin, Lance Kelly, when they reported it to the police sheriff, at a later point, they did reply back, respond and say, hey, these bones are mostly animal. That was basically it, okay? When it came to the railroad situation, when they found stuff, reported it to the police sheriff. The police responded back and told him that it wasn't anything. So they have replied back in the past, but not on this occasion. But Ty Corbin has said they've never responded when they have. So it's kind of contradicted himself there. Unless it's one of those things where you report stuff to the police so often that because it's a false lead, a dead end, that the police get fed up and just don't bother replying back. Maybe. Because they might see it as wasting police time, even though it might be genuine. One way of looking at it. Anyway, we've got Robert Berger saying there are cow ranch stores around, including Ogden, Elko. So I assume what Robert is referring to is that it doesn't mean to say that Dylan Rounds specifically went to the cow ranch store on the 24th of May 2022 or the 27th of May 2022. He could have gone to one of those other stores nearer or further away. True, yeah. But I think there was just a focus on Burley, Idaho because of what was up there and Dylan visiting there in the past, from what Taylena said. Now, obviously, you can handle with caution some of that information, of course. Is it directly associated to Dylan's disappearance? Not really, but maybe certain clothing, equipment, and items could play a role around what Dylan was wearing at the time when going missing, right? Though if Dylan is buried in the ground and that's literally the case, then it's not like you've got to be hyper vigilant of walking in your area, looking about and see if Dylan's dressed in certain clothing. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore, right? Robert says, the family also did not share with the rest of us the FedEx package contents delivered to Independence Valley. So I believe what Robert is referring to here is about Lance Kelly Kimber, Lance Kelly and his family, right? Because yesterday we just did a brief update on Lance, the cadaver dog, his Amazon wish list, right? So Robert is saying that they received a FedEx package, contents delivered, Independence Valley, but never shared it with the general public. Quick question, when did this happen and what's it to do with? A GoFundMe, a parcel from Amazon wishlist, which the audience paid for? Or was it like money raised elsewhere and then spent on a package to be delivered? I mean, maybe you don't expect everything to be shown on camera and shared to the general public unless it was because of the general public that led to you getting something, and there's no harm in sharing it with people to say, hey, I've received it and thanks for whatever, you know. I mean, I think I might have heard of something about a FedEx package in the past. I think that was probably mentioned by Robert himself. I think he has mentioned this in the past, but I didn't quite understand it, like what it was related to, but I guess I do now. Anyone else in the chat, do you remember Lance Kelly receiving a FedEx package? Yes, no? Any significance? Let me know. We got Pack and Go saying dogs need houses and cars and boats and ATVs, and the whole question is small, but big enough to hide stolen cash and ammo, maybe, and for not being able to go onto Don's land or road. It looks pretty clear view on top of the mountain with zoom in, phone and cameras to me. Okay, so I think Pack and Go was being a bit sarcastic at the start. It was just a sentencing that ended up being lost in the slight joke. Yeah, so the hole, not that big, but you could hide cash in ammo. But the reality was nothing was found in that hole. So it makes you think, if something was buried there, was it an attempt made and then realisation, oh, not the best place, leave it, go elsewhere? Or was it dug up by someone who was looking for an item and found it, took it away? Makes you think. We can actually do a poll right now based off that. A poll on a hole. Wow. What an interesting one that is. So the poll hole can basically be, why do you think there was a hole near Don Hatley's? Caused by an animal? That's one option. Caused by a human attempting to bury something, but not successful. The other option can be someone dug it up and found an item, took it away. And then if there's another option, it can be something else explained down below. Make sure to vote right now and see what people are thinking. I mean, when you get a hole in the ground or a hole somewhere, normally you probably write it off. Oh, it's just nature, it doesn't really matter. But when it's closer to a place of interest or where a person of interest once lived, it does make you question. Just like with the supposed hole which was near to Brenner's burnt down trailer back in Montello, Nevada. How there was questions with that. How there was that supposed scene with the spades, shovels in the ground, right? Or the Chase Venstra homestead where nearby that box was buried in the ground and covered up. You know, stuff like that. It just make you question and slow down and wonder what's going on. We got Brad. Oh no, the return of Brad. Let's see what he's got to say. Tom's comment no doubt refers to the recent May 21st visit, and Candice wouldn't want everyone searching the loosened spot and spoiling it. It's likely the strongest remaining scent the dogs have to work with. Dogs don't just smell the blood, they smell the blood type and are capable of searching purely for that same scent. A powerful search tool, I covered that and more regarding plausible new search area in reply to Tom's comment. Could be. I mean, it's the only link I could possibly think of when Tom was talking about how Candice Cooley recently going out there back in May with a canine dog and handler. I remember that. They were checking a place off the list. But when Candice Cooley referred later on in the video about how dogs kept acting out in two particular spots because of the scent of that area over the course of months, which implies in the past over a course of time, but it never led to anything, and it was too late by now to find anything because no forensics were done. So this recent, well, you can't really call it recent now because it's back in May of 2023, but the last time, at least from what we've heard of, Candice Cooley being out there on a Wednesday sometime in May 2023 with a dog handler and a canine dog to sniff out stuff, to check things off the list. I don't think that links to the 21st of May, Brad. Only reason why I say that is the 21st of May, I believe, fell on a Sunday, and Candice Cooley said she went out on a Wednesday. Okay? So I don't think there is a link there. Sure, she could have got it mixed up, but to be honest, getting mixed up between Sunday and Wednesday is a bit weird. Sunday and Monday, or Saturday and Sunday, makes more sense because it's closer together, okay? And I know Brad's going on saying, well, maybe she just worded it the way she did without actually saying the location because she doesn't want anyone to go down there. I get that, but still, If Candice Cooley has said that the pond has been completely ticked off the list and searched, then why did she still go down there on the 21st of May or nearby? This is the thing. That witness at the time who was out there near the pond said they saw a person, which was Candice Cooley, which Candice Cooley confirmed herself on Facebook when replying, somebody else, and a sheriff, which was earlier on. Said there was like a couple of other people as well, but there was no mention about a dog. No dogs mentioned on that day. So it could have been another reason. And they were near to the pond, but not at the pond. Maybe near the wash area, more so. So I still think the 21st of May, 2023, when Candice Cooley was down there with some other people and a sheriff, that was its own thing. And then maybe later on a Wednesday, that was another one. That's what I would say, okay? Deb saying, I'm very proud of Lance. He is all he's done looking for Dylan. Cindy, Lance, Kimber are doing wonderful work. Hope they find Dylan and Aiden very soon. So it does seem very obvious that both these people here are in support of Lance Kelly, Kimber for what they do. That's fine. One thing you need to acknowledge with these two people here, they're just leaving neutral comments in support of like Lance Kelly and stuff, positive, but they're not causing any trouble in the comment section, okay? So these people here, Cindy and Deb D, are a good example of those that come from other channels, support other creators, but they don't bring that dark cloud into here, even if they may disagree, right? So that's good of them. Because there have been some additional people over time from Lance Kelly's channel that have come on in and been very hostile and defensive verbally, which wasn't exactly necessary. But on this occasion, it's fine. So that's good. We got Bouncy Bounce. Here we go again. This person can't keep away. 5 hours ago. Once again, that is not Don's place, you idiot. Well, Bouncy Bounce, if you actually bothered watching my video, looks like you didn't. You were too busy rolling across the floor. Maybe you need to be swapped with one of Inky's Tainted Ink's bingo balls. That could help you, okay? Do you have a bit of buoyancy? Are you going to float? That's good, because some don't. Anyway, the thing is, Bouncy, in the last video I said, this is the location, but it has been contested by another individual, which was referencing you, basically, where you said it's on the other side of Lucin Hill. And I did actually focus on there too. So I've narrowed it down to two different places. One location from what the rest have said, the other location from what you have said, okay? The thing is, Bouncy Bounce, if you are frustrated for whatever reason because of the BS, then why not set the record straight? If you've got the coordinates, provide the coordinates. It's as simple as that, okay? You want to lock on, you lock on. If not, just keep on bouncing about. Not really going to help, is it? Move on. We got John Lammy saying, I've missed a good chunk of your content, but I've gone back to get caught up with the case. I took a break, lost a family member, so I had to get my head straight. I'm feeling a bit better now, and I'm looking forward to the next video. Keep up the great work. Doing a wonderful job, so appreciate that. So John Lammy, besides obviously the mystery videos, you know, if you're interested in the Kenny Veach one, the latest breaking news that's come about recently, sink your mind into that. It's a bit of a distraction as well. If you need any dodgy videos or light-hearted ones, there's quite a few of them in recent time. They should help in alternative ways. So a bit of a hybrid. So depending what alley or valley you go down, they'll be present. Okay, so it should be fine. And I believe this person is a longer time viewer, so shout out to them. Is that it for the comments? Yes. So we got through it. Not too many, but they were still valid and worth checking out. So with that out the way, welcome if you have suddenly joined. Feel free to rewind back to the beginning to catch up on what you've missed. What we're going to be talking about now is myself sharing my thoughts with you to like what I think about the case, where things are at, okay? Don't do it that often, so no harm in doing it right now. Obviously, some people brains are fried, others have ran away, some have lost stamina, others drained, right, okay? So reality is, with me, whatever drama or conflict is going on, fine, it's okay. not really impacting me. It can be covered, it can be balanced, some of it can be resolved, maybe like later on in this video. That's perfectly fine. Balance, I've got that under control, okay? Even if the drama conflict doesn't even involve me, I still got it under control in a way. Probably hard to understand, but it's fine. Now, what about the case Dylan Rounds, of course? Is it a complete mess right now? Once again, I think it's okay, in a way. Like, the way I see it, okay? The main objective is trying to find Dylan Rounds, right? In my mindset, I can agree with that. And not so much in the back of my mind, it's more so at the front of my mind. In between, during the silence, I'm trying to make sense of other possibilities, tie up any loose ends, okay, if that needs to be the case. Look back at past things which have faded away into obscurity, try and make sense of them, solve them, tie up loose ends, or, I don't know, find something new, okay? Or at least pass on, spread awareness of new things found, but with controlled language, just in case it backfires or turns out to be a dud. Okay, kind of like with the hat cap found in recent time. If there is ever an update, obviously I'll do a video to spread awareness of it. Regardless of the outcome, it needs to be covered, okay? I feel like, well, first of all, in the chat or wherever, you can share your thoughts to whether you think Dylan Rounds will be found ever, if you think he's going to be found sometime this year or soon. In my head, basically, the way I think is, whilst I'm trying to cover the case and spread awareness and maybe try and make sense of where Dylan Rounds could be at, not often do I think about, is Dylan Rounds going to be found tomorrow or in a few months or in a year? I don't really think about that. The only thing that goes around in my mind is, whenever it happens, it's going to happen when you don't expect it. Even though you might be anticipating it every single day, depending how focused you are on the case. Whenever it does drop, you're not going to expect it. Even though you are expecting it, it's still going to come as a bit of a shock or a surprise, however you interpret it. Okay? Is that because of how Dylan could be found or the conditions under it, the environment? I don't know. That can play a role itself. But I mean, it's just one of those things where if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Thinking about it over and over again isn't going to really change the outcome unless you're in a position of physically finding Dylan yourself, or if you're in a position of trying to work it out where the exact spot is, which may not exactly be possible, okay? But if someone randomly asked me, is Dylan Rounds going to be found? I'd say there's a chance. Could I say when exactly? No. Like, when I do my predictions, I can't predict when Dylan Rounds will be found. I just know that if he is, it'll still come as unexpected. Okay? That's what I say. And maybe there is a pattern to my predictions. The only things I can predict are negative stuff, but that's not my problem. That's just how it is. That's my reality. A lot of the stuff I've predicted has come true, and a lot of that stuff has been either negative or maybe kind of neutral, okay, like with some of the news reports and how they come out and in what order. Yeah, neutral, not too bad. Have I predicted anything positive? No, but there you go. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the case. When it comes to the confusion, when it comes to the rumours, the misunderstandings, the Chinese whispers, a lot of that loose stuff which, you know, people seem to be quite informed on and talk about and reference in my videos, I'm always the first one to say, what? I've never heard that before. My first time hearing this. That is a big positive. The fact that I don't know about most of this stuff and I'm completely oblivious to it, right? Now, in most cases, humans would say, whoa, well, if you don't know about this or that, then where have you been? You hiding under a rock? You know, you should know about this. Come on. And yet, because of this occasion, with most of that stuff, what I don't know of being BS, rumors, exaggerated Chinese whispers, doesn't really matter. In a way, it's a positive because I've been so blind to it or just not even thinking about it or exposed to it that it's not corrupted my mind. It's not thrown me off. It's not, you know, confused me. It's not disrupted anything. That's good. But other people have been impacted, and that's why they're in a position now where they're scratching their heads wondering, the hell's going on? Whoa, what's going on here? Literally like that. So maybe it's good that you got the odd person out there that isn't like exposed to that stuff, so they can carry on covering and talking and doing their own thing. I'd say to anyone out there that might be confused is just look back at the bare bone basics of this case, have a bit of trust in what Candice Cooley says, maybe when it comes to the phone pings at least, because it's less of an opinion and it should be more of a fact. If you're literally looking at phone pings or they've been presented to you and then you've simply passed it on to the general public or so. You get what I'm saying? As for all the other stuff, it could be opinion-based, theory-based by Candice Cooley. Tread carefully, but the same applies to anybody else out there. It could be Bob Farrell, what he passes on, or it could be Jim Terry, more likely. You know, bits and bobs out there. And when I say bits and bobs, that doesn't mean Bob Farrell, okay? Bits and bobs is a saying, okay? So basically, when it comes to, you know, all this stuff in the background, you know, I guess it is what it is. But if I didn't mention it before, one way to counter it is just start thinking outside of the box or theorizing yourself with the bare bone basics. Branching off with your own ideas and thoughts, but only keeping them as theories and nothing more until you get to a point where there is a fact to back it up with, okay? If you used to look at Kenny Veach right now, the story about that, the case, possibilities, Area 51, being kidnapped, reptilians hiding in caves, UFOs out there, spy drones, cartel, a serial killer hiding in a tent with a concealed bamboo sword, Kenny Veach being captured near the mine shaft, a crystal skull, supposed cave out there with a portal or some kind of military dumping ground, all kinds of ideas, right? How much of it has been backed up by facts? Not much, but you know what is what. It's not that bad. And even the theories, ideas, and BS at times, that kind of just fades away, or it's just literally in its own league and it stands out still, so you don't get too confused, right? Because there's a lot of theories, ideas, and some conspiracies, that's all it is. Okay, you will get some heavy material, which I've presented on my channel, whether people agree with it or not, it's there, okay? Dylan Round's case is, arguably there's a bit more factual information here than there is in Kenny Veach. There are less theories and ideas here than Kenny Veach. But what might have been replaced as theories has been turned into possible stories and rumours, Chinese whispers. But the way they've been worded, presented in this case, it's turned out as if it's like a fact, a known thing, but it turned out to be nothing more than just a rumour, a bit of gossip. So maybe if it was actually worded properly and treated as just a theory, an idea, an opinion, then it wouldn't be as messy, okay? But as said, the Kenny Veach case, dark side to it, and humans as well, right? I'm not in a position to say this, but just to relay what some other people have said in recent time. A couple of people have reached out to me and said that I am the most sane person in this case, okay, the most stable individual. And obviously, to some people that could sound really, really ironic considering the dodgy videos done, but of course, the people that understand those videos will understand the stability at the same time when it comes to the real important focus, okay? So it's good that people are able to see it and acknowledge it, and that what people say towards me. Would I say that I'm the most sane individual within this case? Probably not. There'll probably be some other people out there, maybe not so much people that cover videos, but maybe viewers, okay? As said, it's just only on the spot example, that's all it is, because it applies to other people too, but just because I've used examples previous, that was a bottle popping just then, okay? like Tom Evans. Tom Evans is pretty stable, to be honest, from what I've seen. Watcher of Crazy is pretty stable, unless she's riding that horse. But, you know, I'm just basing it off from what I've seen on my channel, okay? But, you know, there's still people out there, so it is fine. There will be times where people might mess about and stuff, and maybe if you interpret it the wrong way, you might think they've got a few loose marbles or a loose screw. So there is that. I'm aware that there are people out there that are a bit all over the place, a bit erratic. People that do cover videos on the case or have done at some point, and it's like, got to slow down, calm down, assess the individual. Can you trust them? Just take a bit of caution and all of that, right? If I was to look back at the Kenny Veach case, in terms of numbers, without doubt, there are more darker entities within the Kenny Veach case than there is in the Dylan Rounds case, okay? There are more BS individuals in the Kenny Veach case than there is in the Dylan Rounds case, okay? There is more pettiness, there is more evolutionary competitiveness in the Kenny Veach case than there is in the Dylan Rounds case, okay? And I'm sure I'll probably do a video on it someday, okay, if there's time, so that's fine. If I was to refer back to myself, like, as for this case, do I feel confused? No. Do I feel lost? No. Do I have a headache? No. I've never had a headache before in my life. I might have had a pain in the head or in the side, but that was something different, or like a cold. But in terms of an actual headache, maybe caused from thinking about the case in that event, that environment, no, I've not been in that position before. Have I been a bit annoyed or frustrated in the past? Yes, but when more control was added in, more focus, the right people popping up with what they know of and done without any background noise, it just got better. But then again, maybe there was a bit more control because I expected, or I was thinking about it at the beginning, and it was just a matter of time, possibly. Do I feel like the case can be solved eventually? I said, it's weird. Even though that's what you should be thinking about and covering, I don't really think about it. You know, I'm thinking about the case without thinking about it. It's very weird, but it works, okay? So yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that. My thoughts. Does it give stability to you when you hear that? Does it calm you down considering the chaos in the case and maybe the community? Just let me know your thoughts. Has it made things worse now? Are you thinking, oh no, what's he on about? Just list it down below in the chat or the comment section. Of course, questions too, that can be done. Now, what we do need to move on to next, and hopefully people are still present, or, you know, if people want to maintain focus, we're just going to look to a bit of a snippet of a short summary of what was talked about in Bob Farrell's latest live stream interview with the likes of, I think, Mr. X that popped on in, what Bob was relaying on from what he knows of or what he's heard, okay? Basically, the odd viewer on my channel obviously watches Bob's because get on well, or just, you know, listen, call in, I don't know, whatever, and basically just summarize the key point about it. And I just want to give you my thoughts too about it, because, you know, whether it's true or a rumor, it's still very important, okay? So just as a brief little heads up, this is all to do with that timestamp footage from Dylan's phone, where that digital forensic dive acquired it, the 7:27 a.m. timestamp on the 28th of May 2022, the video of Dylan being in Dylan's phone being inside of Brenner's trailer after the murder of Dylan, from the looks of it, as Brenner is cleaning a gun with blood on his shirts and supposedly arms and hand. That's what it's about. Bob Farrell was talking about it and some other bits and bobs in between. Let's just check the snippet out and the summary and make sense of it. Is it true? Is it false? Let's find out. Here it is. So basically, to do what Bob says, last night Bob said the time lapse was 2 hours long and was the phone being in Dylan's pocket. The information came from a private Facebook group. He indicated that the injury to Dylan was on the time-lapse. He said the time-lapse is ugly enough that Box Elder does not want to show the whole video to the parents. If that was the case, there would be first-degree murder charges. If that was the case, there would be first-degree murder charges. Well, isn't that the whole point, that Brenner has been charged with first-degree murder? I thought that's what it's always been referred to. Or have I got that wrong? Maybe it's the odd news article I've read at that point. But where do we go from here? First of all, everybody in the chat, whether you're just watching, listening, make sure to share your thoughts, opinions to what you think about this, what Bob Farrell has said in recent time. This information we've never really heard of before, but the odd few people know about it. My question would be, the family in this private group out there, because if they were, then surely they would know about this, right? And who does this private group consist of on Facebook? I mean, I remember in the past, I think Weezer pointed it out, or Indiana, saying that there was a private Montello, Nevada group out there on Facebook. I don't know who's a part of it. I don't know what they talk about, anything dodgy, suspicious, or just normal daily life. Who knows? But let's just start from the very top of this and work our way down. So they're saying that the time lapse was 2 hours long. So the 7:27 a.m. timestamp, which was picked up, Dylan's phone in Brenner's trailer, recording unknown to Brenner. How long did it truly take then for Brenner to realise, oh, it's still recording, right? If we refer back 7:27, revert back to when Dylan was supposedly still alive, around 7:03. Roughly speaking, took around 30 minutes to kill Dylan Rounds, right? And they're saying that this video, the whole length, is actually 2 hours long. What you also got to understand is what happened after 7:27. Well, at 7:43 a.m., that's when the phone moved on to the Dylan's farm, going down there for whatever reason, for about 30 minutes, then returning back to Brenner's trailer, and it remained there for quite a few hours. Okay, so if Dylan's phone recording, may have recorded what happened in the 30 minutes of Dylan being taken out, and then what we do know of as factual information inside of the trailer, and then a portion of Brenner's trip down to the Dylan's farm, if that's the case. But you probably wouldn't have seen much because Brenner would have had the phone in his pocket of Dylan's. But surely by then, Brenner would have realised, right? If Brenner's in the, if you revert back, Dylan's been taken out, Brenner's really focused on what he's just done, maybe a bit of adrenaline, not thinking of all the smaller details, disposes of Dylan temporarily or something, drags him, hence the blood on Brenner, into a certain spot, corner, buries him or not, I don't know, slightly concealment, takes the phone off Dylan from the looks of it for it to end up in Brenner's trailer. And maybe in the process, Dylan could have, Brenner could have accidentally grabbed Dylan's phone and turned on the record button, right? And then that's where it all begun. But surely by the time Brenner finished in his trailer at 7:43 a.m. to go down to the farm, from the looks of it, by the phone pings, Brenner would have picked up Dylan's phone when leaving the trailer. And surely when you pick up the phone, you would have noticed a screen recording or so, wouldn't you? Unless he was that oblivious. As said, are the facts to prove that it's 2 hours long? No, it's just from what other people have said. So you've got to be very cautious with this stuff. It's not the first time hearing about it. I did hear about this previous, but did it come from Jim Terry's channel? I think so. I don't know who was the main person to come out with it in the first place. If anyone does know, feel free to leave an answer, okay? I'd still say handle with caution, okay? It might not if it is truly 2 hours and it does encapsulate the murder of Dylan, then what? Was it Dylan Rounds that actually recorded the video as it happened? It could make you think. But why would you film your own death? To use it as evidence, even when the person's passed on? So it nails the justice, maybe. But the way it was presented in the court documents, newspapers, news articles, was a timestamp 7:27 clip. Not once was the length of the video ever mentioned. Not in the court documents, not in the newspapers, no, nowhere. The only person to mention it was Candice Cooley, who said it was about 27 seconds long. And Justin Rounds was there too. Justin Rounds didn't discredit it. He agreed, nodded his head. 27 seconds long, and that was it. No more, no less. Exactly 27 seconds. That would make more sense. You could imagine Brenna being in the trailer doing whatever, notices the phone recording or picks it up and realizes, stops the video recording, deletes it, puts it in the trash bin, whatever. And then later on, maybe that could have been the motive for dumping it in the pond. Ooh, best delete this evidence. Possibly. Makes you think. But still, even if that wasn't the case and it truly was 2 hours long, if it truly was 2 hours long, then surely there'd be more rich data and depth and evidence to link onto possible other leads or possibilities, right? Doesn't seem to be the case, 'cause it's gone a bit silent. Saying that this information came from a private Facebook group. First of all, the question is, who is this private Facebook group? Anyone know? Is anyone in the chat or lurking in the background in the darkness that knows about it? Feel free to acknowledge. Are we talking about a Lucin private group, the Montello private group, a Jim Terry private group, a family and friends private group? You get what I'm saying, right? And if this information was too sensitive to share with the family, and most importantly, not possible to share with the general public at this moment in time, then why does a private group on Facebook know about it then? Is it just general public, or is it people higher up? And why are they having these discussions on Facebook, right? Seems a bit informal, if you ask me. Mention that indicated that the injury to Dylan was on the time lapse. How do you explain that? The injury was on the time lapse. Basically, supposedly, the phone recording at the time when Dylan was murdered. But would you actually see it happening? I just can't imagine Dylan Rounds stood there holding a phone in front of him as he's getting shot at or stabbed. That seems such a degenerative thing that other humans would do. Like when they get the phone out to take a selfie of a body that's scorched or burnt, or cheering on someone jumping off a bridge and then taking a selfie to upload to TikTok or Instagram, because that's what humans do nowadays. Would Dylan Rounds do that? Probably not. Would you film your own death normally? No, you wouldn't. You'd make an attempt to fight back or to escape. Fight or flight, okay? Was Dylan Rounds the type of person to constantly get his phone out, record stuff? No. He was busy with farming and getting on with stuff. And in that instance, he had to get on with farming, and you thought maybe Dylan Rounds would have done something if he had the chance, either to put up a fight or to get away. Even if in the back of the mind it wasn't family, it was just, I want to do farming, I need to get on with it, that's what I'm passionate about, I'm not going to let this person take that away from me. You thought something like that, and not, let me pull my phone out, take a selfie, video record myself dying. No, I can't imagine that. Unless it was an accidental recording caused by Dylan, and that's what set it all off. Because Dylan would have been in the possession of his phone at the time because of making those calls earlier on, right? Unless after making those calls to grandmother and Brenna, he accidentally pressed the camera button and then put it back in his pocket and then it started recording. If that really was the case, then the screen would be black, of course, because it's in the pocket, but the audio would be heard. So if you hear a bang, most likely a gunshot, right? Or another sound. Maybe you could hear Brenna having a conversation, talking, who knows? So, yeah, As for the disposal of Dylan, would that the supposed 2-hour full-length timestamp video from Dylan's phone reveal the location of where Dylan is at? I'd probably say no, because, 2 hours, it wouldn't have incorporated the 2:51 p.m. final phone ping at the pond, because he had a few hours after that and also in between to do stuff. And as well, they said that the phone, after 8:03 a.m, it didn't move anymore after that. So even if the phone was recording still at 8:03, it wouldn't have done much because it wasn't moving anywhere. So if Brenner went elsewhere to get something done, the phone remained in its position at the near the Grangeshed property. So it wouldn't have really detected much, right? Anything else we need to look at here? Saying that it's ugly enough that Box Elder does not want to show the whole video to the parents. So basically, they don't want to... What's been said here is that it's that ugly that they don't want... Box Elder doesn't want it to be shared with the parents, but it's okay to share with the general public somehow to find out about it. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Not. If that was the case, there would be first... the whole video. Like, here's the thing. The way it's always been worded, both by Candice Cooley, the news articles, the official court documents, was 7:27 timestamp video from Dylan's phone in a trailer of Brenner cleaning a gun, blood on his shirt and possibly arms. No mention ever about blood being on Brenner's hands or Brenner washing his hands off the blood. Yeah, it was Justin Rounds that added that extra detail in. Just a small one, but it's yet a feature which was never mentioned by anyone else but Justin Rounds. Okay, and that was in the East Idaho News Channel interview alongside Candice Cooley. So from the looks of it, Justin saw a bit more length to the 27 clip, or just simply he noticed more details in that shorter span of time, which wasn't picked up by other people, maybe. Now, if Candice Cooley was wrong about the 27-second clip and it was longer than that, it's probably because she just doesn't know about it, okay? And I don't know, could you tie it in with Justin getting very angry? Well, it's said that the police knew about it since the 19th of November. When did the parents hear about it? Much later on. May have been around the 3rd of March 2023 when Brenner was officially charged. That's kind of like around about then when the parents heard about it. Now, around March 3rd, did Justin Rounds lose it, get angry online? Don't think so. It happened at a later stage, and it happened at a much earlier stage, but not around that point, from what I can remember. The reason why I say that is, if someone like Justin, Candice Cooley, watched the true 2-hour length or knew about it in some way, then surely Justin would have acted out more and been more emotional, okay? Just let me know your thoughts in the chat. Anyone in the chat right now, when it comes to material footage, which could be very sensitive and upsetting, but it can be shown to the right people, there's no issues there or legal problems. Can any of you confirm that it would be shown to the family if they wanted to see it? Can you confirm that? Or do the police just take it into their own stride and know best that it's not worth showing to the parents, even though they're allowed to do so? Shouldn't it be up to the family to make that choice, whether they want to see it or not? You get what I'm saying? I mean, for them to watch the 27-second clip, right, is bad enough. Like, they accepted to watch that. But what about the rest? That's if there is more. That's what we've got to acknowledge here. All in all, with that stuff, in my opinion, I'm just treading very cautious with that stuff, okay? If it truly was 2 hours long and it was a bit rough and sensitive, even though we don't know about it truly or haven't seen it, is it the end of the world, really? Well, it doesn't seem that important. If it really was 2 hours long, it doesn't seem that important for it to lead to a significant finding, discovery, add-on from the looks of it, because the case still continues, right? The case is still ongoing. Not really much has happened since. So if it's just a few extra details, just like it's more sensitive than the other stuff, then yeah. It doesn't really go anywhere else, right? 27 seconds or 2 hours long, whichever, it did incriminate Brenner, and probably one of the most significant findings in the case. So I don't think it really matters, okay? But I'm still treading very cautious. I mean, I know you could argue and say that, where's the proof of the 27-second clip? Where is it? You know? If there's no proof, then it doesn't exist. But I said, you can't be entitled to have everything given to you and proven to you when you just general public and you're not in a higher up position or associated in a case. I get that. So I can at least, on a basic level, understand that and have some form of confidence that the 27-second clip does exist out there for it to be processed and put into the evidence pool when Brenner was officially charged. I'd say that, okay? There would be no need to make it up. But was the 2-hour claim made up? Possibly, okay? It wouldn't surprise me. What I would say to everyone who's present right now watching is ask yourself, have you ever been in a position before where you've heard something which has been passed on from somebody else and it turned out messy? It was dragged out, back and forth, or it just faded away, or it was turned out to be pure BS. If it follows that pattern back then and you've experienced it, ask yourself, is it similar to what's going on right now with whatever you're involved with or hearing about? Is there certain patterns and similarities to what happened back then which turn out to be BS as to what's happening right now? If so, be cautious and adapt, okay? Best not to get too confused or too lost. Just think on a basic level. 2 hours or 27 seconds, it doesn't matter. It was evidence, it was processed, and I guess it did lead one of the main factors to Brenner being officially charged. That's all that should matter, right? The only other point you could add in was, well, if it's 2 hours long, does it incorporate where like Dylan was buried somewhere? Well, if it truly did and it's going on in the background, then surely they would have found Dylan by now, right? But they haven't, so I'd rule that out, okay? So I think, you know, once again, it doesn't really confuse me much. It makes me think, oh, here we go again. Here we go again, one of those moments. Let me know how you react to it, whether you agree or not, or disapprove of it, whatever, feel free. Now, round things off, what we need to do is address Bette Hayward, the Bette Hayward situation. Hopefully people are still present watching, just to pass on some kind of like message, overall scenario of, you know, things. Basically, in recent time, from the looks of it, some darker forces out there have called out Bette Hayward and accused her of certain things, or like doing this or doing that when she didn't, okay? Those type of situations. I guess it's happened in the past with other people where they've not been in favour of someone or broken away from a person, or there's been a disagreement, and then the verbal slanging match begins, and the call-outs, the accusations and all of this. I think there was a comment on one of Bob's videos recently saying that, oh, I don't think Bette Hayward doxed Miss T. I don't think that happened. I don't know what that was about, but I guess that was one of the claims or messy stuff going on. There was some claims or accusations blaming Bette Hayward and accusing her of going on to other people's channels, such as Miss T's, or interacting with Watch Her Crazy on a different channel, maybe Tainted Ink, during live streams. But none of that was true from what Bette Hayward has said herself. But just as a brief little backstory before we go any further, basically, in recent time, reached out to Bette Hayward, just like a simple little Q&A, just to get an idea of things, kind of like what was done in the past, same structure, feature. As for like the response, I'm not going to visually share it just simply because it'll get messy, okay? You think about oh, show this and show that, yeah, and then it leads to more background trouble. But just to simply pass on a message as a messenger, kind of like what's already been done in the past, okay? When it comes to Bette Hayward, she's been present on my channel maybe like a week or two ago, as said, then went quiet, hasn't participated in other live streams. If supposedly that's happened, it might have been a fake alt account. For most part of it, Bette Hayward has been keeping her head down. She said she's been feeling a bit under the weather, feeling a bit down in recent time due to the messiness going on in the background, the conflict, the falling outs, the false accusations, which she's been on the receiving end of in recent time. That's because of the falling outs with some people out there, and channels is what tends to happen when people do either break away or start thinking for themselves or exploring other channels, other themes or topics, right? From at least what I know of, no contracts have been signed, and I'm not joking here when it comes to contracts. The other stuff was like lighthearted, but real contracts, I don't think people are under any contracts. You appear on a channel, you just simply appear, and it's like a mutual agreement, okay? If the person decides to walk away or go elsewhere, might be a bit negative or a bit disappointing to hear, but one has choice to move on and go elsewhere, unless there was something in the contract, an actual contract for whatever reason, which said you couldn't, then a bit messy. But I don't believe Bette Hayward's in that situation. She's just basically been around Jim Terry for a while, kind of like some others have, and with time, moving on, whether it be by choice or because they feel like it's going a bit downhill where they're at, and it's led to retaliation and call-outs. Call-outs as possibly a form of emotional manipulation to control the person and to get them back into the position they were once at, okay? One way of looking at it. If you think about it, personally, I don't know how dangerous Jim Terry is. He could be very dangerous, very nasty, or he could be neutral. Maybe you could argue Jim Terry is only dangerous when he has his backing and audience behind him in numbers. So then when certain statements are issued, when supposed fake news is spread and accusations of Bette Hayward in a negative light, because of those numbers, they hear about it, hound about, spread the word, rally the troops, and then it goes from there. And it's a situation where it's one against all. That's how it is with Bette Hayward from the looks of it. Bette Hayward did say an add-on saying that she's sick of all that and it's unnecessary. Betty has also said that it's got to the point where she can't even make her own videos on YouTube. She wanted to do some, I guess, funny edits, light-hearted stuff of other people, kind of like what the odd other channels have done in recent time, but she felt she couldn't even do that. She couldn't even use her creativity because of the darker forces in the background and the retaliation, the responses. Supposedly, she's been kind of like with the jokes made about all those calls and stuff or so. And I guess people have been reaching out to her in recent time. And, when you're constantly contacted there, it's a little bit messy, right? More, you're focused on that, distracted by it, so then you can't do other stuff like the funny edits and stuff, and you also can't do it because of the added factor of you being watched, you're being observed, judged at every second, every action taken. So then it kind of puts you off, puts you in the mood and thinks, what's the point doing it, right? At the end of the day, from at least my knowledge, Bette Hayward, even though she does appear on shows or panels, she's not like a full-on content creator. Might be a participator and kind of a viewer at times. And in that scenario, you should be able to move on to a different channel or, I don't know, like become a hybrid and look at multiple. The reality, or the way I would see it, is the only reason why channels out there get a bit snappy and show resistance and call you out when you do branch away or you look in a different direction is because they feel that it's very fragile, and they feel maybe intimidated by the presence of others out there that are going to snatch and take away these people that originated from their channel. But at the end of the day, if you haven't got anything to worry about, and you are confident in your own ability, your own channel, if you're very confident that you are the best, you have the best videos and the best entertainment, then you shouldn't have to worry about people leaving you when they should still remain, right? The only reason possibly why people are leaving is because one's own actions have kind of backfired. The lack of trust, the lack of confidence in one's own audience, thinking and feeling that they won't stay and stick around, that they'll move on elsewhere or walk away or branch off elsewhere. The channel didn't like that concept, so using methods, words, maybe a form of manipulation to keep people back, to hold them still so they don't run away. But by using those actions in hopes of keeping people, it's actually led to driving people away, okay? So you could say there's a lack of confidence, there's a lack in self-ability. Even though people might claim they're the best at what they do, yet they feel threatened that people will walk away. But at the end of the day, it's the choice of the person that watches if they want to stay or go. And most likely they would have stayed, but they've gone, some because of certain treatment, okay? Some people might be in the pending process of trying to branch off or go down a darker path or anonymous path, who knows? It's like the timing, that's all. But yeah, like in summary, Bette Hayward simply saying that she's sick of what's going on. It's kind of put her in a lower mood compared to usual. She's not able to do her own thing. She can't do her own videos because she feels trapped. And it's just a bit of a sticky situation. That's basically what Bette Hayward has said. She can't even participate and won't participate in other people's live streams within the last week or two, as said, because of fear of someone monitoring or watching in the background, okay? So the claims out there which say that Bette Hayward has been here and there and everywhere and interacting, that hasn't really been the case, okay, unless there's been a fake account, which then could cause a bit of disruption, right? You know, we've seen it in the past where fake accounts have been set up to make someone look bad, appear bad when they're not. Maybe that's what could have happened to Bette Hayward. And if most viewers see that account of Bette Hayward, though they're not the channel owner, they can't check that profile out in the live chat, they're just going to assume it's the real Bette. So it can get messy. We have seen it in the past, okay? So you could say that there's been fake news out there regarding Bette Hayward in recent time. This is just me simply passing on a message from what Bette Hayward thinks and feels at this moment in time. Will it get better? No clue. Will it get worse? You never know. I'm probably not the best person to make predictions, considering I'm normally the one that gets them right when it comes to negative stuff. But yeah, just wanted to spread a bit of awareness there. Some people might disagree, some people might not believe it, okay? But just simply passing it on from the horse's mouth. I'm not saying Bette Hayward is a horse, that's just a saying. But I do remember in the past, someone thought I was calling them a horse. To be honest, it might as well have been a horse, considering they wouldn't stop talking. But anyway, you get the picture, you get the idea. If you do have any further questions regarding Bette Hayward, feel free to list them down below. Maybe they can be answered at a later point. And if you do have any additional points of info regarding the Dylan Rounds case or ideas, list them down below as well and we'll get to them. Hopefully you were able to understand most of this video, find it interesting, and as said, make sure to check my previous videos out, the one I did earlier on the latest Idaho 4 Brian Kohberger case news, as well as the Dylan Rounds one from yesterday, all in the pinned comment section. I'm gonna go now, it's time to sleep. I'm not as wet this time. Miss T did not make me wet, okay? On that occasion, that was just because it was a hot night, I was on the bed, the story sounds like I'm digging myself into a further hole. I widened the hole for Miss T so I could fit, what was I fitting into Miss T's hole? No, not Miss T's hole, Miss T's neck rester. I widened the hole and, well, I put it around her neck and then got the back scratcher sponge whipper green thing and tested it. Yeah, some people that's not going to make sense. Basically, it was Miss T's birthday. It was a birthday surprise. Woohoo. There we go. And I was fully attired as well before any dodgy assumptions go from there. Okay? So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Good night for now.